What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione is another Garage Gym Reviews. Today I'm reviewing the Tonal, and I will say I was pleasantly surprised with how this felt. As far as I don't have all the information in terms of like the cost and stuff like that, but I know the unit itself is a few $1,000s, and I know there's a subscription fee. So I'll kind of just go over the pros and cons and just who this might be for. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised. So if you ever have access to use a Tonal and those sorts of things, I'll tell you what I think it's really good for. So in any case, the first thing I thought was pretty cool about it, just how the feel of it. I wasn't sure like how the resistance was going to feel. So a lot of popular items, kind of like the Vultra and stuff like that. The big thing is that you really can't cheat the weight. You really can't use a lot of momentum. So you're getting a really good muscular contraction, a good stretch, and if you're ever kind of like tried to explosively kind of start an exercise on a cable stack, you can kind of cheat it a little bit and kind of have that weight jump. And if you are trying to potentially take a more evidence-based approach, or just kind of work on hypertrophy, you may be aware that there seems to be a lot of evidence, and I think anecdote shares this as well, where just kind of working the muscle in a more stretched position is beneficial. And if you're kind of using a lot of momentum to kind of start the lift, potentially you're going to be missing out potentially on some stimulating reps and kind of growth potential there. So the other thing I wanted to kind of showcase is how you can potentially do supersets really effectively. And I do think one thing I will say, when it comes to upper body cable training in general, and cable training in general is going to be primarily the most useful for upper body. I don't think there's as much utility in the lower body, in my opinion. I think that you need more dedicated machines, like for doing things like leg extensions and leg curls. It's just very cumbersome to set up because you can't grab dumbbells, you can't grab handles with your feet. So I do think that this is going to be primarily a good use for upper body. And the other thing, although this has a lot of adjustability, I think that for most people, just the majority of the exercises you're going to do are going to probably be from like a high to low position. So here I'm going to doing a superset where I'm doing like a decline cable press. You could do those, standing or kneeling. And it's going to, just kneeling, I find, is going to allow you to be a little bit more grounded. You can also kind of play with, if you put one leg up or not, but kind of like the lat pull down, kind of chest press superset is a really good one. So that's something, again, to save some time. I always think about saving time in a garage gym type situation, and just when you're doing kind of accessory work in general. I don't think in terms of if your goal is maximal strength, this is going to be like the best tool for you. But if you're doing like a lot of your accessory work in like kind of the 8 to 12 range, or certainly 20 plus reps, again, just for example, I'm not at my strongest now, but I have a 2,100 pound total to my credit. In equipped lifting, and kind of my best raw number is kind of equal to around like a 1,700 pound total, just for those that are wondering. So again, this offered plenty of resistance for me. I think it offers like either 100 to 200 pounds either per arm, or 100 pounds per arm. I forget exactly, but it's plenty of resistance for the type of movements you're going to do. So here I'm doing a tricep extension, and I also wanted to kind of show you can also superset this with kind of like a high cable curl as well. But the adjustments are very easy. The arms go out to in, they go up and down, very quick adjustments. The other thing I really like about it is that you kind of can click and start and stop where the weight kind of engages and disengages, which allows for easier setup. So a lot of times if you're using a functional trainer, you kind of have to like be a little creative and kind of getting yourself in position sometimes. So if you are someone that likes to do an elaborate setup, or you're doing things that are either cross body or crisscrossed, or you're going from like a standing to a kneeling position to set up, or you're kind of doing things backwards facing away, a lot of utility there. So I like that you can kind of stop and start the set. There's a lot of also kind of cool features in terms of counting your reps, which is not a huge deal, but it's nice for kind of data tracking. If you're kind of into making more micro adjustments and kind of logging your workouts, you can kind of see the force you're kind of putting into each rep. So if you're trying to figure out your reps in reserve and stuff, it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. It doesn't exactly quite track your velocity per se. I think the Vultra may do that, but it gives you like at least like you won't know like the meters per second, but you get an idea of like how much force you're putting out. So when the rep speed starts, if you're trying to keep a consistent rep speed, or if you're trying to, like, say, terminate the set at like 3 reps in reserve, it can kind of help you make those decisions And then if you want to do like length and partials and stuff like that, you could certainly do that as well. But really like the Tonal for upper body development as well. Again, I think that in terms of like a subscription-based service versus like a one-time purchase like the Voltra, my kind of issue with the Voltra is like as far as since it's not a subscription service, if it kind of craps out, what happens if the products go away, you're kind of out $2,000 to $4,000. With Tonal, it seems like it's kind of like a Peloton thing where there's a lot of customer service, there's programs and stuff in there. There's like people, if you did want to kind of learn. So if you're someone that just wants to do bodybuilding training, I think it could be a good tool. It's very space efficient. And the feel is really good. So if you want to kind of limit joint stress and get a good muscular stimulus, I think it's a really great option for that. But yeah, for things like lat pull downs, chest press, tricep push downs, curls, you'll see I'm going to do some side delt movements in a little bit. I think for honestly all things upper body, and again, for me personally, I have cranky shoulders, so like this felt really good on my shoulders. So if you're training your side delts and your shoulders in general can be tricky if you have bad shoulders. So since you can't use a lot of momentum, this felt really good. So whether you're again doing this lying down or doing one arm at a time, it's going to allow you to do. I was in a time crunch. I had a plane to catch, so I I just literally got up, had some sugar, and I just kind of got to work. And that's kind of the benefit of something like this. You can probably get a 20-30 minute workout and get a lot of muscle groups kind of done. You can kind of do like 1 or 2 sets to failure or close to failure and get like a really effective stimulus. So I just want to kind of just show you here like the speed of like setting up and kind of changing. So I was just kind of playing with different things. I wanted to kind of set up a scapular retraction, I believe. But yeah, so in terms of saving time, supersetting kind of chest with like back. So like kind of a push with a pull, a chest exercise, but a lat exercise can be good. Arms and shoulders can also be kind of potentially supersetted together. But you could certainly do like side delts with rear delts. I've done side delts with other exercises as well. Biceps and triceps are a very popular superset. But the other thing that you want to consider as well with supersets is if you do need to like set it. So like I was able to do scapular retraction and kind of the side lateral exercise, the line. So if you could kind of set up exercises that are in the same position. So like the scapular retraction, I was able to do in the same kind of position in a lower position. So that's also one thing I did notice about the Tonal in terms of like, it can't go super low to the ground. So if you did want to do an exercise where you wanted it like lower to the ground, you would need to stand on a box potentially. But I do think that like most people, there's just not like a lot of exercises that you'd really want to do with it super low, in my opinion. Like obviously, so there's some things like curls or maybe certain types of lateral raises come to mind, but you could potentially stand on a box if you needed to. So that's like maybe one downside of the Tonal, as I wish that maybe there was a way to kind of extend the arms or something like that. The other downside of the Tonal, I believe you're going to have to use their kind of attachments because otherwise it's not going to kind of, work with the system, or I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to integrate with the system. So, besides like but I think for D handles are fine. So some people, if you're kind of like a cable attachment snob, then, this is probably not going to be a great option for you. I think with the Voltra, I think that you have more options in terms of, what handles you can kind of attach to it. So that's probably like the biggest negative. So I'd say that, and then, like I said, as far as the high options, the medium options are great, but there's not really like a way to kind of get it super low unless you kind of stand on boxes and stuff. And then again, I don't know, it would be great if they had some sort of kind of like leg roller or some way where you can kind of maybe some lower body attachments and things of that nature. But anyways, that's the episode for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.